started a live streaming.
अभी कहाँ? We started.
Like, I'm sure some people have definitely figured out what to do in this digital fillers, you know. You know how stage programs may they bring children to sing a song and then, you know, say a poem. I think we should start doing that. We should have that for all the Zoom lags and live lags. Here's a filler performance.
Here's a filler performance. Yeah, right. I think we're almost ready. Saurabh has given us a heads up.
Arti ma'am, you will have to unmute yourself.
And then, you know, say a poem. Oh, I can hear my own voice. That too in a very delayed fashion.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hello.
Arti.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, Arti ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Great to meet all of you today.
Same here.
Yes.
All right. I think we should begin the session. First of all, I would just like to tell all our viewers that, we've kind of decided to change our streaming frequency. We've decided to do it fortnightly now. So every alternative week we'll be doing the, live stream. So we did session 16 last week. And similarly, we're going to go ahead. Today is October 24th. October 24th is the United Nations Day. It is the day when United Nations was born in 1945. And this particular session is under the UN 75 branding, which the UN started, I think, a year ago to celebrate 75 years of the UN and the Sustainable Development Goals. So as you can see over here, I'm wearing the SDGs pin also. I'm really proud of that. And welcome everyone to the show. Today we are discussing some really, really important points. The topic is the impact of COVID-19 and its associated lockdown on increasing the gender inequality, especially in the education space. So today we have with us two amazing guests. I'm going to be introducing Dr. Arti Anand, and then Pallavi will do the honors for Surbhi. Dr. Arti Anand is a clinical psychologist, and she has more than 22 years of experience in clinical psychology. She works with Sir Ganga Hospital in New Delhi, which is one of the biggest hospitals in North India, and she has her own practice as well. She regularly provides her expert guidance and advice to media, to a lot of other forums, and is an advisor for a lot of different people. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pallavi, please do the
So
honors.
can I go?
Yes, please.
Okay. So hello guys. So I have a little bit of an internet problem today, so bear with me. So I'm so glad that Surbhi has accepted to be a part of this discussion in such a short notice. So I'm sure a lot of you know Surbhi, but for people those who don't know Surbhi, Surbhi is a gender and new rural development practitioner with experience in policy research, and she is running a young social enterprise in skilling youth and journalism on gender-based abuse. She is driven by an imagination of women in India living and leaping as if their minds and bodies are their own. She is the founder of Sajhe, Sapne. So I kind of interact with her on a regular basis. So about Sajhe, Sajhe is an organization ensuring that young women in village have thriving careers. Creator Women at Leisure, a repository of photos and videos of women enjoying their time. So also, you should all be seeing what Sajhe is doing. It's about young women in their villages. So Surbhi is basically a IIT Delhi and Berkeley alumni. She's trying to learn actively in the village. She is in Himachal right now. So today, Surbhi is going to share insights from her experience as an entrepreneur in the social sector. Also, she is an ardent advocate for gender issues and rural development. Over to you, Surbhi.
Thanks, Pallavi. So, Saurabh, are you going to take a lead or should I go ahead?
I think you can go ahead. It's a very free-flowing conversation. I mean, we would like to have some introductory comments from both of you. So, Surbhi, why don't you start?
Sure. I mean, the title that you've put for this session is the impact of pandemic on gender inequality. And I was just reflecting on what all conversations have happened on gender inequality. And if you see right from the March, May we had lockdown, right? Since then, there have been conversation around rise in domestic violence, and then there was conversation around how this is going to impact education of the girls. I think we talk a lot about suffering of women, children, LGBTQ community when we talk about gender inequality. But I think I'm going to let go the lens of suffering today, and I'm going to talk about responsibility sides. Like, how do you understand level of inequality by level of inaction? Okay. So we're not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about suffering. I'm going to talk about what are we doing about it and what are we not doing about it. And that gap is going to tell us how important gender equality is to us. So if you're talking about pandemic, you're talking about some sort of problem. The problem has arisen, has arisen, and now you have to address it. When you think about problem, you think about resource distribution, right? So what are our resources? Our resources are time, our resources are money, our resources are safety, security, freedom, okay? And if you think in terms of how this country has responded or how we as society has responded to pandemic, when the rise of domestic violence, what UN Women have called it shadow pandemic, was in news, we still don't know how to address it. The level, and pandemic didn't, of course, it has exacerbated gender inequality, but it has not introduced something new. It has only unraveled what was already existing. Domestic violence is not a new thing. It has been existing since forever. The rate has increased a bit, but the reality was always there. So I think what was important for us to see, how did we react? We still don't know how to react to domestic violence. We still don't have resources at national level, at state level, at family level, at society level to what to do with with domestic violence. You talk about education, most likely most girls, what people are reports are saying that because of the pandemic, we have taken our march, the advocacy of gender equality a decade or two back. Because for mobility of women, a lot of advocates fought for decades. And still we struggle with the mobility. We still don't have safe spaces for women to have proper mobility. So now you've locked women in the house. It's going to be harder for them to get out of the house after the lockdown has been lifted, right? What are we doing about it? We don't know. We have relaxed labor laws, which are going to impact women the most. Are we doing anything about it as economy, as society, by law-wise? Not really. We don't have solid infrastructure which is addressing how the labor market participation that is impacted because of pandemic, especially on women, is going to be addressed. So there is solid inaction on that front as well. Then you talk about education. Pandemic has hit everyone economically, most of the bigger class of this country economically. सबसे पहले किस पे असर होगा? लड़कियों पे. We have a lot of efforts towards school education, कि स्कूल में जैसे तैसे उनको रख ले हम, है ना? We don't talk about 17 साल की लड़की के क्या होता है. School खत्म हुई, what happens after that? What is going to happen to the girl, 13-year-old who has just begun her period? Will she make it back to her school? Would parents have money to send her back to school? And if they do have money, would they prioritize her education or her son's education to come back to school? So in terms of education infrastructure, in terms of digital delivery of education, we don't know what are we doing with the girls. We have no idea what's going to happen to their dreams, their potential, and their careers. And you keep adding the layers. You make village as a layer, you make caste as a layer, you make class as a layer. And the deeper you go in these layers, you're going to realize sabse niche takbe mein the heaviest burden is taken care by women and girls. And we don't know, our infrastructure is not there to address this. And I think I'll make just the last point in terms of inaction. We are still debating about merits and faults of feminism. If I just talk about a social media bubble, right? Hathras happened, right? Balrampur happened, and many cases keep happening. We are still debating what are the flaws in feminism, what are the flaws in advocacy of Dalit feminists. हमारी हैसियत नहीं है फेमिनिज्म को अगेंस्ट कुछ बोलने की. given what is happening left, right, and center in this country with the girls in your own homes, forget, kahin pe class nahi bhi lagao, just in your homes, left, right, and center, whatever is happening to women, we are still arguing about the imperfections of feminism. How? Like, in what capacity are we doing it? It could be imperfect, but then that's literally the only tool you got. So I think I just want to introduce a point here that instead of just discussing the suffering of people, just discuss the apathy and our lack of understanding of the issues. And it doesn't still cut it in a priority. We have had so many, Prime Minister have given a lot of national addresses, right, related to COVID. He has never even mentioned domestic violence. He has never even mentioned shadow pandemic. He's never mentioned what is happening to abortion right now. When women are living in the same, marital rapes are not, they're not criminal in this country. So if men and, couples are staying home, do you think women are not being raped in their bedrooms? Of course they are. What are we doing about it? We don't know. So yeah, I think that's my contribution to this conversation, discussing the inaction and then measuring gender inequality in terms of inaction. I'll let, Dr. Arti take it from here.
So, very rightly said. Now the thing is, we have all the laws, okay, agreed. We have all the laws, and every government official knows about these laws. But there is hardly implementation of these laws. There are three reasons. One is that we still believe that it is the right of the man, for example, to rape you in marriage. If you go to a police station and say, he did this to me, okay, the policeman will say, bhai, aap to bilkul, aap to galat ho ji, wo to aapka pati hai, aapka duty hai karna. So they will not understand that thing because that is far, far, far away from their psyche. Marital rape, so aap socho, it is not understood in India. Okay, so you cannot say कि ये मुझे तंग कर रहा है, the husband is troubling me. They may understand that there is some violence. Okay, violence से तब भी समझ आएगा if the woman shows scars or she's brutally hit, then only some little action may be taken. If a woman goes and says he's hurting me, he's troubling me, bolega aap thoda seh lo. This I'm not talking of village. Okay, even urban area maybe he'll say कि आपको एक husband ने थप्पड़ मार दिया तो क्या हो गया, मैम उसका हक है. Now from here, where will the woman go? Because the mindset of the whole society hasn't changed, and it will only change if the people in power, men or the people in the government or people in the who are supposed to implement it, their mentality, their role or their awareness changes. Because even if you go to any place for help, women will not be taken seriously. Okay, in rape cases maybe aap dekh lo, abhi bhi, even the most educated, I mean, I get people from very good society that women, why are you going out with this dress? You cannot go, you will be raped. Matlab, she is wearing a normal dress. From her side, she is wearing a long dress. Okay, she is wearing a long skirt. Yet her parents, the father says, you cannot go out in the evening wearing this long dress. So even the father is very educated from a high society, whatever, matlab, you can say upper middle class, yet he is not ready to send her daughter like that. You may not believe me, but I see such cases. Then these people have depression, anxiety, and helplessness. So more than education, I feel, okay, there has to be a propaganda, a full-fledged, intense propaganda to bring awareness about these issues in the public eye, not only by the government, but by the NGOs and also our people, stars, the so-called stars and the people at a higher position who can influence in changing the mindsets of the people. So this is a very, very tough thing, because as you very rightly said, Pallavi, that for years and years you go say ye ho raha hai. Matlab for centuries these things are happening. In India there is no change. Why? Big एक ये reason है. Secondly, there is a very big power struggle. Power is also a very, very big thing. The men don't want the power to be given to to women, because if the power is given to women, there will be a very tough competition for them in case economically, psychologically, and intellectually also, you know. And this I'm not saying out like without any, you know, a kind of proof. You, me, and all of us have seen that women in India, even doctors, okay, they get up at 5 o'clock, they make food for everybody, pack tiffin for everybody, and do every household work in those 1.5 to 2 hours, get ready, come to hospital, do their work, and in between they get calls of their mother-in-law, children, ye nahi hua, wo nahi hua. They are doing so much, yet they are not given that kind of um, respect, and that kind of, you know, kya kehte hain usko, respect plus credibility, that they are not rewarded even in means of praise or by means of love, appreciation. There is no appreciation. So this again you will say that all of us are educated doctors, but ये mindset कहाँ से आ रहा है, कौन change करेगा, यही तो problem है. तो मुझे जहाँ तक लगता है, this I as an individual has to make some baby steps to change this mindset. How? By saying no when you are not able to do work, when you are not able to multitask. Because in India, I feel it is a hype that women are multitasking. So multitasking means taking so much of pressure. They are not, they will not understand multitasking means you are giving more anxiety to the patient. They may not have time for themselves. They may not be able to do things they want to, but they are multitasking and making everybody feel happy. And when they are multitasking, what happens? They get only appreciation, that is pseudo appreciation. Ki, you are great. Jai ho, badi achhi bahu hai, badi achhi. But she's in hand, she's not able to get anything. What she is able to get back is depression, anxiety, selflessness, even self-worth bhi theek hogi. What she gets to understand that this is the normal thing to be done. Matlab, being silent and multitasking and getting depressed and not being able to say my point of view or taking some rest is fine with me. I am the bahu of the house, I am the woman, I have to take care. Matlab, ye sahi ho raha hai mere saath. The first thing is, as women, we have to understand that where I, as an individual, can give my feedback to the family that I also need rest. Can you please do some of the work which I may not be able to do? Or can the husband also take some kind of participation in household chores? So that is very, very important. I think we may talk so many things, implement, but I think somewhere another thing that I can say is also the fathers and the husbands should also change their mentality. They should also help their female मतलब child or daughters or their wives. तो ये mentality I think मुझे लगता है हमें भी यहीं से शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी. As मतलब even the most educated and earning women, you must have seen, I'm forgetting the name of that Coke की जो president थी, क्या नाम था उसका?
Indra
Nui.
हाँ, she also said that she had, as being a woman, she was multitasking. मतलब she had the privilege that her in one of the interviews, she had the privilege of her secretary go and ask and see what the child was doing, okay, at every hour. But that is an exception. But most of us will not have that kind of resource, that kind of thing for us to be able to do it. See, even at the highest level, that woman, she at the highest level is also has accepted कि मुझे ये I have to multitask, I have to take care. So एक तरह से from the very psychologically, from the very beginning of our lives as women, we are taught, or we are brainwashed, you can say, or we have seen, or we have observed, or we have conditioned to believe that women are supposed to do these roles, ठीक है? And they're confined to these roles. And if you want to do something more, you cannot leave these roles. You have to continue these confined roles. And also, if you want to do much better in life, you will have to, you can't neglect these areas. You're getting the point. You have to manage somehow. So here is what I think the problem lies.
Actually, we have certain questions from the audience, and I think we should take those first. So I see the first one. It says, how can the official machinery change the attitude of the society? I think that's in response to what you said. The government is not doing anything. Both you and Surbhi had talked about it. So the first part of the question is, how can official machinery change the attitude of the society? The second part of the question is, why are we not talking about changing the curricula by incorporating values which could change the attitude of the next generation at least? So why don't we include these things in the education curriculum? And I think that question is open to all of us. All of us are educators here.
One remark about what Dr. Arti was talking about.
Please.
Two small remarks. One was, I think Dr. Arti had made a lot of important points, but I think the one thing that kept coming back was around that even in educated families, and I think I'm going to nudge everyone here to think about, why do we equate education with morality? I mean, we are assuming that just because you're educated, you're supposed to be morally superior. I think, and in fact, in case of women's movement, a lot of women's movement and a lot of right-based laws in this country are given by most marginalized women in the country, from villages, from poor communities. We begin from Chipko movement to right to information to Arti to RTI. So even Me Too movement came, it became a loud thing when it was picked up by Bollywood, and it's a very important movement. But at the same time, Dignity March also happened, where 6,000 survivors from villages walked up to Delhi to make a point. So this idea that just because you're educated and just because you're upper class, you're going to be morally superior is pretty messed up. Because if you think about all the destruction in this world is done by most educated.
No, that's what I'm saying. You are right, absolutely right. What I meant was, when you are educated, you know the rights. If you are more aware of your rights, and you are also aware of your, you may be aware of your not only rights, the laws. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
And you are aware what is happening in the world, yet you don't have that power that power
Absolutely.
to fight back. That's what I'm saying, that even after having other resources which other people don't have, still women are conditioned. That's a psychological thing. We are conditioned from the very beginning to be afraid, to be just in that narrow role boundaries.
पर हम फिर औरतों से क्यों बातें कर रहे हैं? हमें तो फिर उनसे बातें करनी चाहिए जिन्होंने ये conditioning की है. Because here's what I think, and someone asked this question around changing structures, right? Like if Indra Nooyi, someone like Indra Nooyi is, still struggling between her job as a caregiver to her child and also handling this big multinational company, I'm not going to go and tell Indra Nooyi that don't do that, because she doesn't have structures to support when she stopped doing it. I mean, I'm not going to tell her that don't be a mother. Well, she has love for her.
Of course.
I'm going to go and ask that company, and I'm going to ask her partner, or I'm going to ask all the structure around her. The moment she says no, can this structure handle her no? For example,
that's what the structure cannot handle. The husband cannot handle.
Yes.
So, but one thing is,
not with women.
I'll tell you why that's what. Why are women not able to again be firm कि नहीं, मेरे से नहीं होता, मैं नहीं करूंगी, आप ये ले लो, और मतलब to be able to stand again for their rights. Again, when the person is saying no, okay, then also you have that thing, I cannot do it. To be able, when you're at that position, maybe you can put an extra force, but because you think because we have given up कि नहीं, वो my husband cannot do it, मैंने मान लिया है कि वो नहीं कर सकता, मैंने मान लिया है कि मैं चाहे कुछ भी कर लूं, मैं कितना भी कर लूं, वो चेंज नहीं होंगे, पर मुझे कुछ ना कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा ना. At least
Ma'am, I will have to cut you short over there. I'm so sorry. But
we have some questions. Like
Yeah,
even I have question
Yes,
before we go ahead.
So I think we can definitely continue with that. Jaslene, can they just answer Raji's questions first?
Yes, definitely.
So I'll just repeat the question. The first question is why, how can the official machinery change the attitude of the society? And if it cannot, then shouldn't the curriculum of the school in life skills and moral science and all these aspects be changed to, sensitize people about gender inequality?
I can take a stab at the first part and maybe a tiny bit with the second part. So when we function as a country, there are two things that keep us together. One is a law and second is a custom, right? Law is given by, the government, the structure, whatever, everything, institutional bodies. That's the law. Second is custom. You and I make the custom. So in this country, especially in current political scenario, law can be all of it, whatever it wants, but the custom has a strong position to challenge the law. Our law and order situation, the rule of the law, what we call that, right? The rule of the law is there, but as Dr. Arti correctly pointed out, right, the implementation is the key challenge. So it's not just around changing the design of the structure, although that is there too, but I think a major part is played by the custom in our houses, custom in our society, you keep expanding that radius of impact. So I think in terms of customs, what are we doing with our customs, right? And who has the responsibility of changing that custom? I think the approach Dr. Arti and I are suggesting are slightly different, and I think both of them are needed. So I'm not discarding what Dr. Arti is saying, because it's very much needed. Women need to stand up for themselves and fight their own battles and all of that. I'm just taking away the focus from that, at least from my side, and I'm saying I'm not going to focus on women. They're going to figure out their coping mechanism. They're going to figure out their struggles. I'm more worried about people who are looking and people who are doing this, right? But anyway, specifically talking about legal structure and institutional structures, I think it begins with who are the key decision makers and are they sensitized enough? Because right now, countries and economies are run by egos of individuals. It's not some system in abstract, some government as a big structure running the country. No, it's run by individual egos. Same with, it goes in your household, it goes in your, in your companies, it goes in your country. So who is the person running it? Who is the person who is making the decision? How much space is there for listening to the perspective of people who are hurting? So for example, if you are making, so we don't have a very solid infrastructure on national helpline system for women if they're suffering from, if they're going through domestic violence, right? If you're designing such a system, are survivors on board whose point of view and whose experiences you're listening while designing that big infrastructure? So if one is creating that space for listening. Two, do you have the capacity to make decentralized systems? The more central system you're going to make, the harder it is going to for you, for the government, or for the institutions to contain this diverse set of population. We don't have we do have decentralized systems on paper, but we don't have them in functionality. So I think these 2 points come in my mind immediately. And of course, there could be way more. For the education bit, you asked, why can't we change the curricula? आप किसी को कोई चीज कैसे दिखाओगे जिसे देखने का मन नहीं है? You know? ऐसा तो नहीं है ना, प्रॉब्लम्स हमारे सामने नहीं है. भारत में गरीबी, आप दरवाजा खोलो, गरीबी आपके सामने होती है ना? घर के अंदर देख लो, जेंडर इक्वालिटी इज देयर फ्रॉम मॉर्निंग टू इवनिंग. इट्स जस्ट देयर. वो डॉक्टर आरती वाज पॉइंटिंग कि कौन कितना आराम कर रहा है, कौन कितना सुबह उठ के काम कर रहा है, किसके सपने दाव लग रहे हैं, who has the power to say no, who is doing the housework and getting pat on the back, and who is doing the housework as a norm. तो घर के अंदर है ना सब कुछ. तो अवेयरनेस तो तब आएगी जब आप देखने को तैयार हो. तो करिकुलम में आप नया कंटेंट डाल सकते हो, इंटरैक्टिव चीजें डाल सकते हो. श्योर, डू दैट बाय ऑल मींस, बट डज दैट रिजल्ट इन बिहेवियर चेंज? इज इट इवन अ प्रायोरिटी? डू यू? So I don't know how to make people see something they don't want to see. So I think, again, I'm going to go back to the same question. It's not about who is suffering. Of course, it is their problem and their struggles and their fight, or all our advocacies for them. But I think let's focus on people who are seeing and not seeing. Stage के सामने जो audience बैठी है, वो क्या कर रही है? तो audience पे focus करते हैं. Are they clapping? Are they throwing eggs? Are they just turning their neck away and saying that the drama is not happening? All of that is happening, right? So curricula, of course, we need a lot of overhauling on that. And NEPs has come, and NEPs talking about, 21st century skills, involve emotional articulation, emotional intelligence, and all of that stuff. But theory and practice are two different things, and customs change a lot of behavior. So I'm going to stop there and let Dr. Arti give her comment.
I agree with you, Pallavi. There, exactly. Again, you are absolutely right when you say, as an audience, what are you doing? It is everywhere. Okay. Now, the audience can change. Just see, can only change if there is some kind of fear because of implementation of laws. If you are implementing the laws that, for example, if you do so and so you do so and so thing, you will be you'll be given a severe punishment, and you are given that punishment, and the audience sees that. So the whole thing again comes back to implementation also, because there are laws. तुमको पता है कि I'll rape somebody or I'll hit somebody, मैं छूट ही जाऊंगा. I will give $2,000 to the guy and he'll be, he'll be back home, or he'll bribe somebody and he'll be bailed out. So these are the things we have to change somewhere. And this is very, very tough thing unless the whole mindset of the audience changes. And also the stage, the stage changes. How can the stage change? If the implementation and the stage shows what happens when you do so and so things. So ये सारा बड़ा complex है. And customs वाली बात जो आपने बहुत बोली, very true. The customs are so deeply ingrained in our DNA that even if, as you very rightly said, even if you show them the reality, they will not want to accept it, because the custom says that women have to be they have to do this. They have to wear certain type of clothes. They have to have a parda system. Even now they have parda system. People who are living in urban area, they are not having parda system. As soon as the in-laws come, parda aa jata hai. ठीक है? So it is in the DNA कि पर्दा करना ही करना है. Now that is a very, very tough question, and sometimes I realize how I sometimes think only by um, uh, by these celebrities who come. Celebrities can propagate, they can do drama, so they can street plays you can do, or we can have very women stars, women who are doing very well. They can come and propagate all these issues, and keep doing it, and keep bringing women also. We have to bring women who have struggled, and they have come to a position where they can help other women. तो ये एक cycle है बहुत. I mean, it is a very tough thing to happen. It will take time, and culture, education, customs, they are all intertwined actually. ठीक है? हमारे as you said, as you know, example एक दूंगी, जैसे in pandemic, there's a female who came, मतलब the family came issues. So two children require laptops, okay, laptop or phone, but because the guy he's a male guy and she is an elder girl who also requires, उसको ये बोला जाता है आपको समझना है अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि आपके छोटे भाई को ही ये मिलेगा. ठीक है? So that kind of thing is ingrained in our society. तो वो हमको change करना, it's not one way thing. It has to be brought from all sides, the government, the people, and I think propaganda is very, very important.
Guys, what do you think? I mean, the rest of you about the same question.
Please.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I would add to that curriculum aspect, because being an educator taught in the schools, and especially when I was working with 200 bunch of girls in one of the difficult communities of Delhi, Jahangirpuri. And I think the kind of, issues that everybody, like all of you mentioned, I've witnessed them on ground. Like, I visited their families, and rightly mentioned, when the devices have to be given, it is always the brothers who are given. The way that these girls learn, their creative expression, their voice is just suppressed. So I think as educators, when I tried intervening the gender curriculum in my classroom, that in a small pilot that showed results in the girls, in a way that girls started even discussing about their problems, because a safe space was created, and they found support within each other. When we start creating spaces for the girl, they find strength amongst themselves, and that's how we can create the ripple effect in the community. That's what I did with my girls. And the girls are doing everything possible today. They are running a learning center. They are writing letters to the principal when they have to demand something, for example, clean toilets. They go doing door-to-door campaigns to raise gender awareness. At least they have started, and I think everything has come because of the kind of spaces and the kind of education that we as educators try to provide them in the classrooms. That was my experience. So yeah, like curriculum reform, and it also comes down to the educator as well, how passionate you are, and the way that you deliver that content. It has to be very, very enriching and very fruitful for the girls as well.
I think I'll just add two bits here. One, I think we have spoken about laws. I think I will bring in Amartya Sen, who has written a whole book on telling us that how just laws and just institutions don't ensure justice. I think it's a very deep-rooted issue when we look at laws, because the society works in a certain way, and our own understanding of things, unless we work on the psyche, work on the mindset, work on the culture, it is very difficult. How much ever just laws you bring in the system, it I don't think it works in the long term. Second thing I want to mention is what the audience thinks. I think we are trying to demarcate here, that shift the focus from the women and try to put it on men maybe, but a lot of patriarchy or a lot of systemic things are come from the women as well. Gender inequality is not a one way street which comes from one gender and goes to the other gender, and shifting just focus on one particular gender will help. I don't think it can work like that, because somewhere every gender is embedded, and whether it is a woman or a man has to understand what role they play in this embedded society. And when we think of it holistically, I think it has to come from every gender, and not just men who are trying to propagate certain this thing. Of course focus has to be there, but also women who reiterate or reperpetuate the whole thing in the system.
Priyank, can I make a
Lastly, I
comment?
want to ask a question.
Go. You should
Yeah,
finish your
sure.
thought. You should finish your thought first.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question at last, that when we are looking at education particularly, I wanted to understand what are your views, maybe at the individual level from Dr. Arti, and at the systemic level, society level from Surbhi, at how does education cements people back into the whole whole whole, what to say, gender inequality space. Are there processes in school, are there things which happen in school and which are part of education, which which perpetuates gender inequality, or which cements people back into this whole system?
Right. So, Surbhi and Dr. Arti, before you answer, would you mind if Pallavi and Praneeth can also chip in their
Yes.
views
Please do.
about the
Please
previous
do.
question?
Please. We would love to hear that.
So I would like to say one thing which Surbhi mentioned, that why do we think that only gender discrimination happens with people, those who are like uneducated or illiterate, or those who are into poverty? Definitely, I completely agree with the fact that education and this thing has, like, if we think that education will empower, it doesn't, because I myself have seen a lot of girls who were part of my training workshops. They, in the middle of the training, they just left. After doing training for a few days, they were like, they have to do cooking, they have to help their mothers, like, because they are at their
Very true.
house. But I have never seen any boy telling me that. I'm talking this about Northeast and Northern and Western India. I have never seen a boy telling me, ki, ma'am, I'm not going to come to the session because I have to do help my father or mother. But I've seen girls, so many girls, and these are people, those who are coming from very educated, good households. So they tell me, ma'am, can you please send me notes later? So this is something, I think this is a social conditioning. This is
That's
something that has been ingrained in our mind. Thus, as women, we are caregivers. As women, it's our responsibility. So I just want to know from you both, like, what do you think? Like, I know there are a lot of Surbhi has talked about Indra Nui and a lot of other people. So we talk about Jacinda Ardern. We say that, okay, fine, she is taking care of so many things. That's why her husband is taking care of the child. But do you think the society actually appreciates this man? Or do you think there is a sense of, like, again, this discrimination, that fine, okay, ye aadmi to henpecked hai, you know how it happens.
हाँ,
So what do you think? Like, आपको क्या लगता है कि ये हम लोग अभी भी उतने हमारा माइंडसेट चेंज हुआ है, या फिर हम लोग इसको कहीं ना कहीं हमारे माइंड में आता रहता है ये थॉट?
this mindset, can I speak? This mindset is being transferred from generation to generation. From grandmothers to mothers to our children, and then that's what I'm trying to say. That when this generation, our generation, or my next generation, you say, starts changing and taking some steps, forgets or deconditions what conditioning takes place of what they have been learned, then only the society can change. You know, by by telling, it can start if we tell our boys in the starts from the home. Very true. If we tell that both boys and girls, you have to do the same work. लड़का भाई भी अपने वो धोएगा प्लेटें, लड़की भी धोएगी, दोनों सब करेंगे, दोनों मिलके करेंगे. When this kind of mindset comes from, basically it should come from both the father and mother. But in India, if it comes from the mother, because mostly men are working, if this mindset is transferred to this generation, many things can happen a lot. But again, as it is not so easy, because the people are the the men folk will resist to all these things, to forward thinking. Okay, so here what is required persistent deconditioning, or persistent positive view of yourself and your girl child. I feel that, क्योंकि आपका कंडीशनिंग हो ही जा रहा है ना, हमें तो ना करना पड़ेगा, या it's a very very tough situation. As you, इसका आंसर तो holistically देना पड़ेगा. All four, the government, the social values have to be changed, and through curriculum also we can change, through giving examples of how educated women can help their families, and how पढ़ाई से क्या फायदा हो सकता है फैमिली को, ये अगर बताया जाए तो lot of things can change. So many people don't, अभी भी बच्चों लड़कियों को क्यों नहीं पढ़ाया जाता? Because they have married off, and why should we invest in the girl? तो उसने तो अपने चले जाना हस्बैंड के पास, पढ़ाई का क्या फायदा है? So that mindset has to be changed from the home.
So I just want to just ask, like you've mentioned a great point, that it starts from home, when our parents, like mother and father, they start normalizing the roles of the gender. Like the boy has to do this and the girl has to do it. But I just want to understand, how do we break this conditioning, because they are also carrying the burden themselves, and that's what they have been observing since generation. Like they've seen it from their mothers, their mother have seen from there. It's just continuous cycle. And then how do we break it? Like, how do we bring a change at home? That's a question that I would like to open.
I think I can answer that one.
Please do answer. That
But
will be great.
just that, I think one tiny point, and this is for everyone here. What do we mean when we say good families? I think हम बहुत casually बोल जाते हैं इसको कि even people coming from good families. So I think something for everyone here to discuss after this session is over. But what do we mean by good families? It often actually has a solid angle of caste and class in it. तो मैं बार बार वही point out करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि we still, as educators sitting here, we are still equating education with moral superiority. We are still equating class with moral superiority, that somehow you're rich, so you should be able to think better and you should have higher values. And there's no harm in doing that. It's just that it immediately puts illiterate person or someone who's not gone to a formal education immediately down. So just a suggestion that good family का notion थोड़ा change करना पड़ेगा, और हम क्यों बोलते हैं good family, है ना? But answering the question around, it begins from the household. And I think we're going in circles here. We're going in circle where we're saying, no, it's all in the mindset, it's all conditioned, it's very intergenerational. That everyone knows it. You can take anecdotes, you can take statistics, you can just open your eyes and see it. Just give me 1 minute. Also, for people who are looking at this, we are sort of living in the same campus, and that's why no mask before you guys think about not being COVID responsive here. So thinking in terms of, what do you do in your household, mindset, hai na? If you want to think, and I don't know how many people are watching this and how many people are seriously taking this conversation. If you're genuinely interested in being part of a conversation as not just a spectator, as someone who is taking responsibility, how about you start with listening? आप अगर कंपनी के CEO हो and you are a great feminist guy who has this label that you're a great feminist guy, just hold on and just be quiet and proactively listen. Don't wait for women around you to come to you and tell you कि मेरे को ये problem हो रहा है. Can you be proactive in listening, right? And you can be, and again, Priyank was making a point around, it comes from all genders. Responsibility is divided between all genders. Women are also gatekeepers of patriarchy and perpetuating patriarchal oppressive system. Of course they are. We are part of the same well. But even then, I would not give them the same burden of responsibility as men. I won't give LGBTQ folks the same amount of responsibility as a straight or heterosexual person, right? Because एक इंसान ऑपरेशन को रिएक्ट कर रहा है, एक इंसान ऑपरेशन को बेनिफिट जी रहा है. So for one who is being a gatekeeper of patriarchy as women, let's say Sas is being a gatekeeper of patriarchy by oppressing a bahu, right? She is doing it as a coping mechanism. She is doing it as a survival mechanism to live in a system, to get power from a system which is extremely exploitative of her. So one is harassing as a coping mechanism, other is harassing as a exploiting benefit, right? So don't equate responsibility. When we casually make this statement, सभी लोग कर रहे हैं, नहीं कर रहे हैं, पर benefit बहुत एक जगह है. आप कितने ही feminist आदमी हो, when you and मैं कितनी oppressive औरत हूँ, when you and I walk out in dark, you will have a different experience and I'll have a different experience. And your feminist principles and my oppressive power is not going to make a difference. You're a man with a feminist value walking on a street on dark, you won't be harassed. I, on the other hand, with my oppressive mindset, walking on a street as a woman, I will definitely be harassed. I will be surprised if I'm not harassed, right? So there's a certain kind of benefit that a certain class gets just by existing. And there's a certain kind of oppression that certain class gets just by existing, right? So we need to be very careful about when we're talking about responsibilities. Go ahead, Saurabh, you had something to say.
Surbhi, that was a very, very well put statement. I think we couldn't have put it together, in a better way. Praneeth, would you like to add some points, and then we can go to Priyank's question, which he asked some time ago.
Yeah, cool. I've sort of taken a backseat, just observing everything. I just wanted to point out a statistic which I feel is an unintended consequence of what patriarchal societies are. Thappad got 44.54 crores in box office, whereas Shivaji the Boss, which I found was a super sexist movie, got 205 crores worldwide. Yeah, that's like 20% of what they actually got, and I think that
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the point is like I was just reflecting as to one of the initial statements, which were the importance of celebrities and Bollywood and things like that play, and that is also a constant. It's normalized in a way during movies where eve teasing is okay, and everything starts from somewhere, and this is just one of the things that could lead us, like a child who watches that movie, to do XYZ, and which in turn causes a huge cycle of inequality which begins again. And I also wanted to add your question. I wanted to just add immediately after you said that, Surbhi, which was what is a good family? And I just wanted to quick question, maybe like 10 seconds. What is a good education for you, according to you guys? Like, let's change the definition of what we think is socially acceptable as education. If we say we've done 12th standard, doesn't necessarily equate. It's not like, hey, it's the same thing. It's just one's on paper and one's not, right? So I wanted to just get your opinions for what you think a good education is in, say, 10 seconds, and then we can...
Yeah, I have a 10-second answer for this. I can't believe that. I think for me, good education is which lets you see yourself as a person and lets you see other person as a person.
Ma'am, Arti, how about you?
Good education will be both values, respect for others, and awareness about yourself and other person's value also.
Thanks. Yeah.
Amazing. So now because we are running short of time, I'm quickly going to squeeze in Priyank's question also because it's very important. Priyank, please correct me if I'm wrong. What he asked was, are our current education systems also perpetuating patriarchy and this behavior? Priyank, am I right? That was the question.
Sort of.
Please go ahead and ask here. I mean,
It is fine. Like, no, I was just trying to understand that we maybe and just a disclaimer that I never tried to set that the burden of responsibility is same. I don't know what part of my speech made that understanding, but that was never the idea. I was just trying to say that it does have an impact on all genders. So I was just trying to understand when we look at education as a panacea for most of our problems. When you say, if you see a lot of UNICEF reports, if you see a lot of anything which is happening, you see education somehow has a magical wand in itself which can destroy all the social evils. So I just wanted to understand: are there practices in the schooling process, in the education arena, which somehow is re-perpetuating this whole structural thing? It is cementing people in the gender inequality per se.
Should I go and answer that?
please.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, the answer is of course, right? Like the educators, the teachers, unfortunately, are not just the teachers. They're also the same mothers and fathers,
That's very true.
uncles and brothers and sisters, and so the same father who might be incest is very common in this country. I mean, it's common in other countries as well. So the same father who might be raping his daughter, or harassing his daughter, or the same man, there is nothing like eve teasing, it's sexual harassment. So the same man who is ogling at a woman in a metro is also coming in your school and teaching. Is the same school, the educators or the administration of school is coming from the same society that questions women's clothing, questions women's choice to abort their babies, question to whatever, to marry, not marry. They are becoming the school administration. So I studied at IIT Delhi. It was during my stay, the hostel warden had put notice on, we get 1 day when boys are allowed in that hostel. So think about this. This is the best engineering institute in the country, okay? You are not allowed, like boys are not allowed in the girls' campus after 10 p.m. So the institution is making a declaration by doing that we don't trust our boys. So you don't trust your adult boys that they can come in girls' space and not violate it. Sure. So if you've accepted it as an institution, what have you done? Are you doing enough sensitization that your young adults you're studying in your institute are capable enough to engage with each other in a healthy manner? Nope, we're not doing that. But we have definitely put a restriction on, the boys cannot enter in girls' campus no matter what happens, right? Second, उसी institution में आपको एक दिन मिलता है when boys are allowed under massive vigilance that boys can enter in the girls' hostel, and it's a big deal, right? And then the hostel warden goes and puts a notice board, please wear decent clothing. So just like what we were discussing about good families, there's a notion about decent clothing. And then the decency has to be carried by the women. Of course, who else is going to carry the decency? Because as Dr. Arti was saying, we have accepted that boys will be boys. So, I mean, education, just like everything else in our society, is a tool of power, right? Knowledge is a lot of power. That's why we again and again coming ki educated families bhi aisa kar rahi hain. Of course, they have power, they're misusing it. If you're not thoughtful enough, you're going to abuse the power. So money is power, knowledge is power, right? Property is power. If you're not going to, rights are power. I think education system is very much reflection of our households. This country is very much reflection of our households. This country is very much reflection of our education. And I think as educators, first thing is to just look inside and see what all identities do I have. Where am I a feminist? Where am I a intersectional feminist, or 100 other things that those labels come in. But the answer to your question is hell yes. Our education system is not prepared to handle the problems we have. It's actually perpetuating the principles of the same problem.
Dr. Arti, what would you say?
I agree with her 100%. I agree with her. I again say that as women, if we try, each one of us, if given an opportunity, bring about some changes in our household, then only we can change our society. Let's take some step. Okay, it will not take कि आज मैंने किया तो परसों society is going to change. No, it is going to takes generation to change values, to change thinking. Okay, so not only the women, as a collective family, if one brings about a change in one's own family, okay, then things can become better, because that one individual will go out and show his own reflection as a teacher, as a doctor, or as any other person, and can motivate others to do it also, to uh, to become a better version of him or herself. So I guess uh, with the last thing I can say, that home curriculum is very important, in the sense that we can bring about one section about gender sensitivity, about sexuality in the class, and let a free kind of a debate taken. There should be a debate among the students, weekly debates on various topics, and children can come up with problems in their household or whatever, and this could help them to analyze their own behavior, and understand themselves, what do they want, as women as well as boys. अगर हम करिकुलम में कुछ ऐसा ले आए जो, as she very rightly said, practical लाए, मतलब bookish knowledge we all have, something interactive हो जिसमें, so that there is a change in our mindset. I feel that.
Great. I think that ended on point. So we started at 3:35, 3:36, and now we are exactly 1 hour from there. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Arti, Anand, and Surbhi, to be part of this UN 75 special event. I hope you guys also, found value in this conversation, like all of us definitely did.
Thanks a ton, guys.
Thank you very much. It was great. It was great pleasure meeting you and talking to you guys.